Welcome to the England Rugby Pod. Thanks for downloading episode 18. We'll bring you pre-halftime and a full-time match analysis of England versus Argentina, the first test. You're listening to the England Rugby Pod, the rugby podcast that believes England will win the World Cup in 2019. Hi guys, welcome back again. I know you if you've downloaded it already, you've already heard from us once today. You're going to hear from us again. It's episode 18. This one back on track with England. It's England versus Argentina in the first test. And of course, I'm joined by Dan. Hi, mate.
So as we left off the last chat, I think I mentioned to you I was going to spend the afternoon watching the 97 Living with the Lions. Jesus Christ! If you want to get up for rugby, that is the video to watch. I've riled. I was ready to play myself. I think Rach was a bit surprised when she stepped out of the shower and I ran in and dump tackled her. She would. I admit, I would have felt a bit guilty for throwing him a boot when she was on the floor, but she got up and kicked the crap out of me. So
fair enough.
I'm feeling less guilty about it now.
Fair enough. Is she all right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's absolutely fine. I'm the one icing.
Yeah. A couple of black eyes and a dodgy knee or something.
And a lesson learned.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talking of lessons learned, hopefully England are going to teach Argentina a lesson in about an hour. This is obviously for those of you that have listened to our England versus the Barbars game. We're following the same format today, so we'll probably talk to you for 15 minutes or so now. We'll have a bit of a chat about the build-up. We'll discuss the team that's been selected, the changes that might happen in the second half, maybe a few of the guys that were unlucky to miss out. We'll then leave you briefly, and then we'll come back at half-time for a kind of first half round-up, and then, of course, leave you again and come back at the end to discuss how the game panned out. So that's our format for today.
It's I'm really looking forward to this game. Actually, I'm looking forward to this one more than I was looking forward to the Lions match earlier. I know we had a great result for the Lions match, but it's going to be really interesting to see where England are with this team. Let's have a look at our team. Actually, I think it's quite a strong mix of youth and experience. I know that we've got the debutants. I think there's four, aren't there? Tom Curry, Mark Wilson, Alex Wazowski, and who else am I thinking? It's Harry Williams as well, isn't it?
Harry Williams prop, yeah.
Yeah. So that mixed in with the likes of, you've got the Dylan Hartleys, the Joe Launchburys, Nathan Hughes, and obviously in the backs, Danny Kerr, Mike Brown, George Ford. It seems quite a good mix, I think. What are your thoughts?
No, I completely agree. I think it'll be interesting. I mean, we were all pleasantly surprised by how well, admittedly against a Barbarians side, but a very experienced Barbarians side. And we were all, pleasantly surprised by how well these debutants kind of stepped up to the challenge. He hasn't obviously gone with the same volume of youngsters this time, but still giving a decent number of them a good chance. And as we know, Eddie likes starters and finishers. So when you then look at the bench and you see, even more of them: Jack Singleton, Will Collier, Nick Isekwe, and others. I won't go through them all now. We'll come on to that. There are four starting, but there's another group of them on the bench that will no doubt get their chance to have a run out. So, there was a little bit of experience mixed in with them against the Barbars, and it seemed to help. There's even more with the likes of England captain Dylan Hartley, among others. So I think it's going to be a really interesting game. And, Ellis Genge, he's not down as a debutant because I think this is going to be his third cap. But he's by no means an experienced England player. He's still new to the setup, and he did superbly well against the Barbarians, and I'd expect to see more of the same today.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be interesting. I've seen Ellis Genge a few times in a Leicester top, not really in an England top. But one I'm most looking forward to, because obviously I've seen the highlights, but I missed the live match, obviously, because I was going against the Barbarians. So I really am looking forward to seeing Tom Curry play.
Yes, he was a pleasure to watch against the Barbars, and as we know, he got his Man of the Match award at the end. So I wasn't the only one that enjoyed watching him out there. So it'll be really good to see how he fronts up today, because I got the feeling watching him that he was very he wore the shirt very naturally. He felt very comfortable in it, and it was a good thing to see. Yes, you want to see respect from the young guys coming in for being given the opportunity to wear the shirt, and I don't think he was disrespectful at all. I think he just took the opportunity in both hands and made the most of it, and it showed at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I know you and Coops were sort of chatting to you, both been going on about that. So it would be interesting because, like you say, he's just no fear.
Yeah,
he's ready. He's nothing. It appears so far from what we've seen, but it's nothing. Nothing's going to faze him, and he's going to go out and do what needs to be done. The other one who I really, really hope gets some game time is Denny Solomona.
Yeah, well, we talked about that before, didn't we? Because he was, we were expecting to see him against the Barbars, but of course he sustained that last-minute injury, which had him temporarily in doubt for this tour, but he seems to have recovered. So yeah, the try-scoring machine in club rugby, it'll be very interesting to see if he can convert that to the international stage.
Yeah, exactly, and just see him out wide. So what are we thinking about? What are we thinking about the wings? Because obviously, from the Barbars match, Nathan Earl, saying he had a great game, and he's obviously not. He's out of the 23. I mean, that seems
it's
tough.
Unlucky. It does seem tough, but I suppose there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys who weren't involved in the Barbars game that perhaps are waiting for their first shot, and the Barbars game wasn't a test, a capped match, and this one is. But I think he's seen a decent amount from him. I guess he's also probably thinking to himself, look, we've got an awful lot of wingers in England, and it's not necessarily the position that he needs to be trying people out in. But equally, I think there's probably a good chance that we know he's on the tour, so there's a good chance that we'll see him in the next test. And I don't know whether there's any midweek games. I think we mentioned this before. I don't think we got an answer, but so whether they're going to be playing any other games while they're over there. But I would be surprised if we didn't see him at some point. I think I get the impression from Eddie Jones that he's the kind of guy that's going to want to try and blood as many of the guys, certainly the ones that have stood up, as possible. So it'll be interesting to see whether he gets his shot later on. And as we know, Johnny May is one of those guys who he's got a good number of caps to his name now, but a bit up and down. He's certainly not in the top 3 wingers in England at the moment. He's quick enough, but he's not always he's not always firing. Marland Yard, again, he's had some great games in an England shirt, but with the likes of Watson and Daly and Noel, all sort of standing up ahead of these guys, it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one whether to know whether to bring in the youngsters and leave out the more experienced guys who are on the fringes. And it's obviously what he's done this time, but time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. The back line actually looks it looks a nice match. You haven't in the centres. You've got 10 and the 2 centres. You've got three tens almost. I mean, I know Henry Slade sort of has played most of his time at centre for Exeter, but I mean he was in the England under-20s. He was for 10. He's played 10 for Exeter. So I'm going to be interested to see that. I mean, Eddie Jones loves to have those playmakers in the centre.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be really interesting to see what this back line does. You're absolutely right, but for exactly that reason. 3 playmakers in the centre. You've got Mike Brown at the back, offering a good amount of experience in there as well. Danny Kerr, obviously, who as we know is a bit of a sniper, and a couple of guys on the outsides who have a decent amount of raw gas. It could be very interesting. Let's just hope that the Argentines don't have anyone too big. I don't know enough about Lazowski and Henry Slade to know about their defensive abilities. But let's hope they don't have too many big guys that can punch holes, and instead let's hope that our guys are able to use that playmaking ability that they have to create opportunities. And it could, if that is the case, it might be a really exciting game.
Well, the good thing about this, and the thing that's really exciting for me, from the Argentina perspective, their whole team, including bench, is the Jaguars team that plays in the Super Rugby competition, actually. So it is, these guys play together week in, week out. They train together every day. They know each other inside out. So Argentina have to be favourites for this. I was having a look actually at the team, and in the Super 15, they're played 12, won 5, lost 7. So that's a pretty good return. They are sort of on a par, slightly below perhaps. Well, actually, they're one place below the Blues. So that's
Blues,
a really good.
Yeah, the Blues have just beaten the Lions.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be a really good comparison. I mean, of course, you can't compare like for like for like because it's two different teams. But if you're saying sort of results wise, they're similar. And so you've got to think they're playing to a similar standard rugby.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see how does this England team compare to that midweek Lions team. I know this is a tenuous link, but I think there can be some point of comparison.
Well, I think that's it, and it's good. It's good to have comparisons, even if they are tenuous. It gives us something to compare to, and of course, when it is such a young team. It's easy to kind of say, oh, well, they're a second team, and it doesn't really matter what happens because it doesn't really mean very much. But actually, we by doing this, and now we're doing this podcast, we're much more involved in following the team much more closely, and perhaps in past Lions years, we've maybe paid less attention to the England tour because it's been a lesser side. But it just seems like under Eddie Jones, it doesn't feel like a lesser side. It just feels like a different one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense because I agree with you. Whereas I think although having said that, last time I went to Argentina, a young Billy Vunipola suddenly came onto the scene playing for England during the last Lions tour. But there's something about this England team now, and I'm talking about the England team today and the England squad in Argentina, that's really exciting. There's something about it, but actually I'm glad that we've not got the usual guys playing because I really want to see some of these players. Like I say, Tom Curry, I can't wait to watch, because in the highlights you never get, I've seen it and it's like, oh, hey, yeah, look, he did well, but you never get the full sort of feel of sort of how it goes. So watching him, I'm looking forward to it. I'd love Dennis Olmono to get a half because I just want to see him. I've never seen him play live for Sailor. Again, I've only seen sort of the highlights reels. So there's a few players that, like you say, there's just something about this team that's exciting. Something about England rugby that's exciting at the moment.
Right. Well, we won't leave you in suspense. I'm just going to quickly go through the team because we've talked about a few players, but just so that we can put it all in perspective. So up front, you've got Ellis Genge, Dylan Hartley, Harry Williams, one of the debutants. In the row, we've got Joe Launchbury and Charlie Ewells. And then the back is Mark Wilson, Tom Curry, who we've just been talking about, and of course Nathan Hughes. Danny Kerr, George Ford at 9-10. The wings, Johnny May and Marland Yard. We've talked about it, Alex Gazowski and Henry Slade in the centres and Mike Brown at the back. It's then Jack Singleton, Matt Mullen, Will Collier, Nick Isekwe, Don Armand, Jack Maunder, Piers Francis and Denny Solomona on the bench. And I suspect, because Eddie tends to do it, that the whole of the bench will get a run out because, as he likes to say, they're the finishers rather than the subs or the reserves. But that's the team. We're obviously excited to crack on and watch the game, the first half in particular, because then we'll be back with you. So I think that's probably a good place to stop. We'll leave you once again with the anthems, and then we'll be back to discuss the first half and how we think things went. Okay, guys, welcome back. That is the end of the first half in what was a pretty poor first half performance for England. I mean, from both sides, it's a very scrappy game. Dan's obviously here with me. Dan, what did you think?
It sort of reminds me of my ex-girlfriend. It's a little loose. It's not been great, has it? It's been quite chaotic, quite scrappy. I don't really know what to make of it. I mean, for me, the old boys, and I use the word old boys meaning sort of from an experience point of view, have been the ones who have stood up. I think George Ford's played well. I think Launchbury's had a really good game. Marlon Yard's put in a shift. I think some of the new ones have not had great games, if I'm honest.
It's been pretty disappointing. A lot of the young we call them the old boys and the young boys. A lot of the young boys not stepping up like I thought they would. This is the first time they get an opportunity to earn a cap, it's scrappy. It's I think we need to see a very different England in the second half, because there are little moments. There are times when the ball starts moving and it's very fast, and there's some great lines, and credit to Argentina that are defending well against it. But it seems that when these moments occur, there are no support runners, or there's in reverse, in defence, there's been some awful missed tackles which have cost us. Turnovers are terrible on both sides. I'm sure the stats say, I think we've won about 50% of our line-outs. Is that right?
I haven't seen that stat actually, so I'm not sure on that. But yeah, do you want to know something? And I actually put a note down here because I really wanted to make sure I got this point over. Just to change, Argentina's second try came from a drive, and it was Hartley and Lazowski who were trying to stop the drive over.
Yeah,
where the hell were the other forwards?
Well,
Harry Williams was standing there and just not really getting involved.
Harry Williams, all he had to do, he could have walked over, sat down underneath them, and just waited for the drive to collapse on top of him. But instead, he kind of stood there and took a breather and thought, "Oh, someone else will sort this out." And then suddenly the try got scored, and he jumped on top of the bundle. Yeah. It was bizarre. It was the sort of thing I'd expect in the sort of fifth teams that we've played in over the years, old Ash style. That's what that was. It was. Yeah. It was. Yeah. It's been a bizarre one. These guys just don't seem that up for it.
I mean, I wonder because when I first when I first sort of saw the anthems and things, I noticed a few of them were sweating. So I actually did a quick look, check the temperature. It's warm. I think it's about 23 degrees out there. It's sunny. It's quite an arid environment. It's 2,000 foot above sea level. Is the fitness playing a factor? I would hope not at this level, but there does seem to be a few times where people just don't seem switched on.
There's something not right about blaming the fitness, isn't there? When the guys who are putting in shifts, the guys who are working their asses off, are the older ones.
Yeah.
These young guys, and okay, Tom Curry, he's not having a bad game. To be fair, he's getting stuck in. It's not quite like against the Barbarians, and it is a different setup. They're playing against a team that have a lot of experience playing together. However, this is not the performance that you want from any England side, regardless of the fact that it's a sort of a young England side. The experienced guys are still there. They're making mistakes too. Brown's put the ball out on the full. George Ford put his 22 drop out on the full. Danny Kerr did a little chip over the top and put it out on the full. These are the sorts of mistakes that you're annoyed when it happens once in a game, not 3 times in the first half.
No, mate, exactly. And it's quite surprising. I think it's almost similar to what we were saying about the Lions earlier. Just the accuracy is just not there. There's that lack of accuracy, which is, I mean, yeah, fine. They haven't been together that long as a team, but you'd hope for a bit more. Like we say about the new guys, I mean, Tom Curry, yeah, he's not having a bad game and is actually working quite hard. Genge as well has done okay. It was a great turnover that led to the England try.
It was, yeah.
From him. But there's just a few a few performances, a few people really need to stand up in this second half.
Oh, 100%.
Otherwise they could be sort of jeopardising not just their England place on this tour, but perhaps even sort of future England opportunities. And I'm sure Eddie Jones will let them know we can win this game. Definitely. It's 17-13. There's nothing in it.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I wonder whether there's a question mark over the decision to go for playmakers over kind of power in the midfield. Henry Slade for me is not having a great game. He's thrown a couple of wild passes. He's missed a couple of tackles. When I saw Johnny May call the mark, I thought, what the hell's he doing? There's about 300 yards of space. But actually, as the commentators said, the game was so kind of wild and out of control and just disorganised that it actually was probably quite a good thing to just say, hold on a second, guys, what the hell's going on? Let's just take 30 seconds, have a breather, and just think about this and try and get back a little bit of sort of organisation, because it's just not there.
Yeah, I agree with that, and and actually I do exactly the same with the Johnny May thing, and what we're saying about Nathan Hughes, his job's been made so much harder. Like you say, having those three playmakers in the midfield, it's so obvious what's happening when you've got Nathan Hughes out there. He's the crash ball man, and they know that, so they're lining him up. So his job's becoming that much harder because he's just like, as soon as you see a Launchbury or a Nathan Hughes out there, you know where the ball's going. There's no sort of surprise coming that way because Lazowski and Slade, they're not that player. They're not the sort of crash ball player. Yeah. So we're making it difficult. One of the things that was quite interesting sort of to me at the start is they were saying George Ford needs a big game, the way Owen Farrell's playing at the moment, the way he can play at 10. And I think he is having a big game. His kicking's been great.
Yeah.
His hands are good. But if you're picking George Ford because he is such a playmaker, he can make those breaks, do you then need two other playmakers outside? Well, no. I don't think you do.
I'm surprised he's gone with two. I would expect him to go with one to kind of fit in with the model that they have when Farrell is around. But I would have thought they'd go for someone, a bit more Tio-esque. I don't know who that is, but someone a bit more, of the crash ball variety at outside. But I suppose, if you find a way to get Nathan Hughes out there, it just seems like if you push Nathan Hughes out into the centres when the ball's in open play, then you're losing your running option, at the pack. So something just isn't quite adding up. I think the second half is going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how early he brings on the finishers, and they have a massive opportunity because their compatriots in the starting 15 haven't stepped up. So there's an opportunity to make a mark. Will they do it? We shall find out. I don't think there's really much more we can say about the first half. There's not really much more I want to say. We need to see it. We need to put it behind us. This is now a game of one half. We're just starting a couple of points behind, and they need to come out and they need to be a different side.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, boys, let's have a big performance, and mate, let's hope that our conversation at full time is taking a very different angle to what it has been now. Just before we do go, we said we'd both name who we think is going to be man of the match at half time, which is a massively early call. You're going Launchbury, damn it. Okay, I'll go George Ford.
Okay, nice. To be fair, I think Nathan Hughes possibly is in with a shout as well, but we'll see how he goes on. But yeah, I'm going Launchbury. But yeah, I definitely think it's going to be one of the. This is of course assuming it's an England player. It's going to be one of the old boys rather than one of the youngsters, I think, based on how things have gone so far. But yeah, we shall see. So we will see you guys back here in 40-odd minutes and hopefully with better news.
Yeah, catch you in a bit.
Welcome back. The second half, I wouldn't say it did what we asked for beforehand, but the result came. That was
what a game!
Yeah, it was one of those games that was awesome in hindsight, horrible to watch while it was on, but just entertaining from a pure sort of rugby fan point of view, but yeah, just horrible as an England fan, desperately wanting to see England do well. Because it was all over the place, and then when every time it started to look like things were going right, they went wrong again. And I mean, let's start at the beginning because we need to build up to it.
Sorry, mate. Just complete game of contradictions.
Yeah,
like every time, like we start the half, and the first thing we say is at half time, like, why have you got those two playmakers in midfield? We don't need it. Henry Slade makes complete mugs of us. He starts playing like the prodigal son for the first 5 minutes and sort of sets up that try. Mate, I don't know where to start. I'm still quite excited about that. I get what you mean. There were times where I was just like, come on, guys, you've got to be better than this. Some of the mistakes were horrible to see, but I really enjoyed that. I really, really enjoyed that. Who are these Lions people people are talking about?
I guess if we're going to put our sensible hats on, I guess what we can take from this is, that's a reasonably strong Argentina side in terms of what they can put out, right?
Yeah.
We've obviously got Argentina in the World Cup. A lot can happen in 2 years, of course, but it gives us a very good idea of what we might expect. We've got another test against them, obviously, on this tour. We're playing them again in November, which we're going to. That's at Twickenham. And then, of course, whether we play them again beforehand or not, probably not. We've obviously got them in our group for the World Cup. So we've got a lot of opportunities to get a bit of practice against them. And that was a very scrappy game from both sides. But the fact that we managed to grind out a win, despite that, them putting out a full strength side, us putting out a very understrength side, and knowing the players, the very large number of players that we have not waiting in the wings, they're over in New Zealand. That gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, absolutely, it does give me hope. I mean, look, this is a young team. It was never going to be completely polished, but I think they showed real character. We were saying at halftime that some of the young lads didn't step up. I mean, Tom Curry had a good game. He really put himself about. One thing I missed, and someone needs to explain propping to me again, because when Harry Williams came off, they said he'd had a great game. I missed that. I didn't. I thought he probably hadn't had the best game, but
like you, propping is not my forte. I'm going to ignore what they said in commentary, and I'm going to say he had an awful game, and I'll be surprised if we see him again. I may rue the day I said that, which would be today, but it's what I'm going to say. As a fan watching on the TV, he just didn't do anything. We picked on him for a couple of errors. One in particular, obviously resulting in a try. Those are errors you can't afford to make. Maybe from a scrummaging point of view, he did a good job. Although the scrum seemed more in control after he was subbed off, and we got absolutely abused in the scrum for a period of time there in the second half. When I think he was still on the pitch. They did say when he was going off that he'd made a lot of big tackles, so maybe we missed those. And if that's the case, then obviously fair play. But the game these days is so much more than one job. You need to be a complete player, and he wasn't a complete player, even if he did have certain elements of his game that went well. And I think that's the key thing, really, isn't it? Especially as the front row is kind of evolving so much. You've got the likes of Kyle Sinclair and Jamie George doing what they do. You need guys who are coming in and competing for those positions to be able to do it all. And I'm not sure that was what he showed today, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he had a stronger. I mean, that game was welcome to international rugby, right? I mean, they must be absolutely knackered.
Yeah.
At the end of that, it was fast. It was exciting. It definitely was exciting. I mean, we need to sort of also look at it from there were some mistakes, but I mean, Dennis Solomona, what's going on there? He comes on, basically
steps aside.
Yeah, basically lets in two tries almost.
Yeah, maybe because he's obviously this try-scoring machine. He thought, do you know what? I'm going to make this more difficult for myself just so I can really show Eddie what I'm made of. So he stepped aside, he let them score a couple of tries, get a decent lead, and then he thought, do you know what? I'm going to wait until the last 30 seconds of the game, and then I'm going to score a ridiculous try where I basically bounce 4 people out of my way before running through the middle and scoring under the posts to win the game for England. And if that was his plan, he nailed it.
Well, if it was his plan, it went exactly to script, spot on. He's a talent. He could be really exciting. Positionally, he was caught out a couple of times, but overall, just a bit like that last try, that takes some skill, some sort of that's what you want
Strength.
in the wing. It had everything, didn't it? It had strength, it had speed, it had lines of running. I really enjoyed that try, and I'm glad he got it. I haven't heard them say this, but I'm happy to say now George Ford was man of the match.
Was he?
Sure.
I think it was Joe Launchbury.
I didn't actually hear them announce it, but I think we'll stick with George Ford just for the sake of argument. Let's stick with George Ford.
Okay, well for now we'll go with that, and I won't sit here while we're talking and look it up and then either say nothing if it is or let you know if it's not.
Well, I wouldn't expect anything else, mate. I wouldn't expect anything else. But actually, George Ford did have a great game. His kicking, I think he was 6 from 7. Scored a try, did well. Launchbury again had a good game. I thought Marlon Yard played really well till he came off. It was that. It had a bit of everything, and it's probably what they needed. They probably needed that game of pace, that game. Yeah, I'm sure Eddie Jones will be there like, guys, you dug in, you got the win, that's brilliant. We've got stuff to work on.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what these games are about at the end of the day, isn't it? It's about going out there. It's about identifying strengths and weaknesses and working on them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that, as a game of like learning goes, I think that's as good a game as you could hope for. The first try after half time was just genius from Henry Slade. I mean, a lovely sort of dummy to make the break, then just a absolutely perfect little dink through. Mike Brown, if I was him, I would have run and dived on the ball perfectly, but he was unselfishly.
It was surprising for him. Unexpected, I would say, but I quite liked it. I quite liked the way he just sort of stepped aside and went, no, you have it. Gave him a little tap on the head. As if to go, there you go, I've got enough of these. You have enough. You have one.
Yeah. Well done, Johnny. There's a good boy. Yeah.
But they do say Johnny May is a little bit like a puppy, so.
And now he's a happy puppy.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I at the moment, because we won, because of the manner in which we won, I'm just looking at the positives. I think tomorrow, and I will definitely rewatch the match tomorrow. I think I'll probably have a more analytical head on and start sort of seeing, okay, we were maybe a bit short there, but just as rugby as an advertisement, I'm looking forward to the England-Argentina game more than I'm looking forward to the Lions games next week.
Yeah. The Saturday game is obviously the Maoris, so that's a potentially big one, and I guess a lot depends on team selections and things. But I know what you mean. There's something about England that's exciting to see where it's going. We know what it's capable of when it's got everyone around, and in situations like this, and it's the same for all of the home nations involved in the Lions. But you're forced to try things out that you wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to do, which just is exciting when you've got a World Cup looming.
Yes, yeah, exactly, and it gives us that chance to sort of test out these players, and I think we're learning a lot. The fact that you're, just to change subject, the fact you've been quiet, I assume means that George Ford was given man of the match.
To be fair, I can't actually find anything on it, and I've given up. But they did interview George Ford afterwards, so possibly he was. But he is also the vice captain, isn't he? So maybe that was the reason.
Yeah, maybe.
But to his credit, I mean, in fairness, he put in a man of the match performance by controlling that game, by keeping the scoreboard ticking over, which is something that notoriously he doesn't do. I think he's a man with an average of about 60%, and he nailed his kicks today. And then, of course, he scored that try, and it was a great try between him and Henry Slade, I think it was.
Piers Francis.
Was it Piers Francis?
Yeah, Piers Francis, who looked comfortable.
Yeah.
On debut, he didn't look at all out of place. So, I thought he did well. There was, I thought Mark Wilson did well as well. Sort of battled. Tom Curry is going to be a brilliant England player for years to come.
He's the one who is going to be putting pressure on some of the senior guys. You think? I mean, who's going
to be? I think he is now.
Who's seven? Who's our seven? Haskell. I mean, we kind of do a 6.5, but if we assume that that Rob Shaw is the 6, Haskell could be in trouble. I mean, we're obviously big fans of him, of his, but I can definitely see Tom Curry finding himself in the matchday 23s, certainly off the back of this and his past performance, and if he continues to play like this. And as I said after the Barbas game, him and his brother, okay, clearly he's seen as the slightly better one. That's why Eddie's got him in the team at the moment. But his brother's out there too, and they're by all accounts very similar players. And if his brother's anything like the kind of player that he is, there's a couple of boys there who could be putting real pressure on that England back row in a really good, in a really positive way.
Well, yeah, and it's something I think it was Woodward who mentioned it in the build-up. Will Haskell and Rob Shaw be around for 2019? They're a bit older now. International rugby is a pretty unforgiving, brutal game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, obviously, Nathan Hughes had a great game, I thought.
Yeah.
He looked really strong, really kind of commanding at the back. Up until now, we've always kind of seen him. I know he stepped up when Billy was injured, but he was always just stepping up to cover for Billy, who was injured. And I know that is the case right now as well. But I don't know. It felt different. Maybe because there's all these youngsters, and he now, even though he only has a handful of caps, kind of seems like a more senior player. It felt like he put in a performance, and it felt like he offered something quite interesting. So he's another one that I think has possibly been slightly underrated up until now.
Yeah, I mean he's got the harsh task because he is against Billy, who's just amazing. But Billy, as the pod doc says, sort of Billy, they're saying 4 months, but it sounds likely it could be a lot longer. So exactly. Nathan Hughes is going to get his opportunities. It looks, I mean, he's almost a shoo-in for the autumn internationals.
Yeah.
Because Billy won't be back by then, or if he is back, probably won't have had much match time. He played well today. He's a strong, hard runner.
I think, I think in summary for this one, you have to look past all of the errors. You have to maybe give them the benefit of the doubt and say it was nerves and maybe a little bit of tiredness and maybe there's jet lag and various other excuses and what have you. But ultimately, it was a test of their nerve, wasn't it? And at the end of the day, when you go out there on the field, the key is to get the win, and they did it. They scrapped for it, and they got the W. So I guess job done. Lots to work on for sure, but a result, which is what we all came to see.
Yeah, I'm buzzing. That was fun to watch, and they got the result. It would have been so easy for them to have folded. Especially with young lads. When Argentina had that period where they were just dominant. They ran in 2 tries. They absolutely ruined us in one scrum.
Argentina made one huge error at the end of that game. They had a penalty advantage under the posts, and instead of just carrying on trying to score the try, which if they had done, would have changed everything. Well, it would have at least put them in a position where it was unlikely that England were going to have a chance. And instead, they took a quick drop goal, which gave England 4 or 5 minutes to respond instead of maybe a minute or 30 seconds.
It's hard because you're never guaranteed the try.
No. But what I mean is, had they carried on for the try and failed to get it, they had the penalty advantage.
They had the penalty,
So they'd have still got their 3 points, but they would have maybe used up what was left of the time.
Well, clearly they'd read Denny Solomona's script and knew that they needed to give him
Okay.
time.
Give him time to score the try.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, in which case, thank you very much, Argentina.
Yes, yeah, thanks a lot. But they'll be hurting from that. They will come out next week and they will want to put in a performance. I think it's going to be another great game next week.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully next week we will just see a much more clinical England, because I think they were better. I know that Argentina had moments of genius, but I feel like Argentina were more scrappy. I feel like England put together some really good phases and then weren't quite clinical enough to finish things off. So I'd like to think that they can work on those issues and just put the phases together and complete them, and that's what I'm hoping to see next weekend.
Yeah, and I think we will. I think we will. They'll have had another week together. I'll be interested to see what team Eddie picks. Will he just go for completely different, try and give everyone a bit of a run out? I suspect he might do, actually. Because there's little benefit to sort of building on that team, because the reality is the next time England meet up, we're going to have 16 Lions back. So
exactly.
So there's not really much, benefit building on that team and doing it like that. So I suspect we'll see a different team next week, but I suspect it'll be equally as exciting, and Argentina will come out wanting to make sure that they don't go down 2-0 at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And we said at half time, these boys they have a second job to do here, and that's to get the wins for the guys that are over in New Zealand, because of course, England want to start building on their winning run again. And if these guys can return to England and say, here you go, here's a couple more wins for the sort of the tally. That's a strong thing to be able to do. They're not all going to be able to play first team international rugby at the moment, but one, it's put your hands up time, and two, it's do a job for your teammates, and let's hope that they can do that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I think sort of as we sort of get to the end of this, just leave it saying, if we win the World Cup, when we win the World Cup in 2019, if we do it like we did that game, it'll be a pretty exciting day.
God, I'm not sure I could take that.
Yeah, I would. I think my nerves would struggle. But could you imagine? Jesus, I almost had a heart attack in 2003. I don't know. Add a few more years on, and come 2019,
almost guaranteed.
Yeah, I could be in trouble.
Be a hell of a way to end the pod, wouldn't it?
It would be a spectacular finish.
England did what we said. They won the World Cup, but sadly we've lost Dan.
Everyone would just be like, and.
Well, on that note, we will leave you guys. England, the victors, 38-34, high scoring game. Had a lot of highs, a lot of lows, but ultimately the win, which is what we all came to see. So thank God for that.
Yes, yeah, well done, boys, well done. Thank God for that. Thanks for listening, guys. We will be back soon. We'll be back midweek.
Yeah, back on Tuesday.
That's
it. Tuesday afternoon, probably, or Tuesday kind of mid-morning after the Lions game against the Highlanders. I think it is.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Yeah, it's Highlanders.
Highlanders game on Tuesday, and then on Saturday we will have the Maori All Blacks, I think, in the morning, followed by the second England-Argentina test at this sort of time again. So lots more coming your way. Please keep listening. Please keep downloading. And if you haven't done already, do please head over to iTunes, drop us a review, drop us a rating. I know I keep mentioning it, and I apologise, but we're going to keep banging on about it. It's the most important thing you can do for us right now, and we really appreciate it. That'd be your way of showing your support. We'd really appreciate that. As always, you can check out what's going on. Check the blog, www.englandrugbypod.com, and of course all the social media is at England Rugby Pod, where you can ask us any questions that you have. We're yet to have any, but we're really keen to answer them. So if you've got a question, send it over, and we can get Dan on the case. He can hunt down some answers for you if we don't already know them.
Excellent. All right. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you very soon.
Take care.